Well, welcome to Conversations with Dr. Harriet and our special guest, Lynne Kelly. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Harriet. I want to thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm just so excited that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to join us here. We have people from all over the world who are viewing us today. No pressure, no pressure. But yeah, so I'm just so excited that you are here. But for those few people who may not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm a mental health counselor. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I love helping people figure out the challenges in life. I do a lot of clinical. I counsel with people from age 5 all the way up. I do individual counseling, family counseling, marriage, couples counseling. You name it, I do it. There are no limitations in the counseling field.
Okay.
Um,
And is everything virtual now, or are you doing both?
I'm doing both. There are
Okay.
some people that I have to sit in front. If people are suffering from depression and certain disorders, I want to make sure that I'm physically there to monitor and see what's going on, which is important at times. But I'm also doing virtual. I've gotten kind of lazy now with this virtual, so you sit in your office and
Absolutely.
you can do it from home. So I make sure that I'm backed out there in the field.
That's
So just
good. And I know you retired now. Tell us a little
yes.
bit about that.
Yes, I just retired from Delta Airlines, 30-year career,
Wow.
traveling the world, and that career kind of it prepared me for my counseling field. This is life after Delta. I did a lot of jump seat counseling. You're sitting with the flight attendant on the jump seat, and some passengers couldn't sleep, so traveling at night, they want to stand up and talk, and I found myself counseling and helping them with problems and issues in their lives. So I would say that Delta prepared me for this field of counseling, which is rewarding. I love it so much when I'm helping people figure out and it clicks, and it's just rewarding to me.
Wow, that's so good. So many of us, I always used to laugh. I interviewed every waitress I think I've ever been a part. And you end up just giving advice because you love people and you love helping people. And so I love that you took yours to another level and got licensed, and that is so wonderful. And I know you're a life coach and you just do
Yes.
so much. And you're also a part of the Win Network, which we love that. And we just
Yes.
everyone at the Women's Empowerment Network, we absolutely love you. And you've helped
Oh,
so many of the ladies who are even within our group, and just with encouragement, with advice. And we just appreciate you so much. So,
thank
yeah, so today's topic, we're actually talking today about domestic violence awareness. So tell us a little bit about when you say domestic violence, what are we talking about? Everything isn't about punching someone, right?
No,
A
you know
little bit
what?
about.
Domestic violence comes in so many different forms. It's also known as domestic abuse or intimate partner violence. I'm going to start with this. The COVID-19 was the perfect storm. A lot of things were blown, and you saw things with the naked eye. And I'm going to say domestic violence was like that. Reports of domestic violence have spiked since COVID-19. And
Wow.
that's why it's very important to make people aware that this is very, very important. Um, it's a broad umbrella. It can be against children, it could be against the elderly, it could be against your partner. And people always think that it's just physical, but there's also emotional abuse that people go through that is very important. So, um, those are some of the issues with domestic violence. There's intimate partner sex, domestic, where you're forced to, commit sexual acts that are against your will. The elderly are abused. Say, for instance, a mother might be living with her children and she's not treated right. That is also a form of abuse. And then, we have the physical abuse, which leaves the scars that are apparent, say, when they go to work or things of that nature. Also, a child may come to school with some bruises and bumps on their body. And, teachers notice those things. So, sometimes they have to call Department of Children and Families to have that investigated. So there's a lot that goes on that people don't know about.
Right. So, but my question is, I know you said during COVID it spiked. Is that because people were in the house and, tempers were short, patience was short? Why do you think that it spiked during that time?
Well, it spiked during that time because it's about power and control. So imagine someone who's being physically abused. They can't escape and go to work. They're on lockdown situation. Sometimes they can get maybe to the store and pass a note and say, "Hey, I'm being abused." And then in some places, some of the counts went down because, for instance, the schools were closed. So the reporting went down. Nursery daycare centers were closed. So the reporting went down. So in some places it spiked, and in some places it was reduced because the reporting agencies could not report. The numbers went down. So, it was a scale there. It balanced here and then unbalanced there.
Right. Wow. So when we talk about domestic violence awareness, what are some of the things that you were telling? Okay, let's start with women. We'll start with women, and men have the same issues. There are a lot of
Yes.
men who are also dealing with domestic violence awareness and won't talk about it. So we'll talk about that in a second too. But let's talk about the ladies first of all, the women. Now, tell us some of the signs that they need to be worried about. If they're, I know something's going on. I know something's not right. I'm not happy. Most of the time, they're embarrassed and they won't even talk about it to other people. So, your own family may not even know that you're dealing with domestic violence, and you may not even know really what you're dealing with. So, tell us a few signs of things to look out for women. We'll start with ladies.
Okay, for women, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Dr. Harry, because men are also in physically abusive and emotional abusive relationships, and they go through the same thing. But for the male, it's a little bit different. The man doesn't report as much as women do because of their pride issue and reporting it to the agencies because that male dominance, they feel weaker. So they don't report as often as the females. Signs of physical abuse, physical
Well, for
assault.
let's start with ladies. Let's start with and we're going to get to the men because men deal with a whole different type. They may not be aware that they're dealing with
Yes,
domestic
yes.
violence as well. So let's start with the ladies. What are some of the signs that they should look out for?
You can look out for a number of things. There's verbal abuse. If the man is going to verbally abuse you and call you out of your name and do some things, coerce you and manipulate you, those are signs. Sometimes the signs will start subtly. Be aware of those subtle signs. Don't take them for granted.
Right.
Um, Control and isolation. Your phone calls, text messages, or emails are constantly monitored.
Wow.
That's one thing to look out for. Your partner demands that you prove where you're going to be at all the time. If he calls you repeatedly on the phone and wants your location and things of that nature, that's another sign that you're reporting, 411 all the time. That's
Controlling.
another sign.
Yeah. Controlling
Jealousy.
behavior.
Yes, jealousy is a very strong sign. He doesn't want you to wear these type of clothing. You have to wear your hair in a certain way. Your makeup can't be this way, um, or else your partner, will punish you. Those are strong signs. Your partner stops you from attending social events. He wants to isolate you. He doesn't want you with your family, or he doesn't want you
Yes.
talking with your friends. Those are strong signs that you really need to be aware of.
Wow, that is so good because a lot of people they hear about okay, the person is hitting on them or whatever, and because the person's not hitting on them, they think, well, maybe this isn't what that is. So, absolutely. And then another thing is that is so important, Dr. Lynn, when we're talking about domestic violence awareness and being aware, these are things that are signs and red flags even before you get with that
They
person.
are.
You
Yes,
know,
they do.
and a lot of times, a lot people would tell you that I saw that, but I didn't process it. I didn't, think that this is going to be worse or whatever. And it does get worse when connect with that person when you get married or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever.
It is
So those are red flags that you need to see early on. That,
very.
jealous, a lot of people think jealousy is cute. It's not cute.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
Okay, so even when we talk about for the men, let's go with the men. And
Hmm.
a person, some we do have situations I've heard of that women were being physically abusive to men. But what
Hmm.
about the other signs of a man being domestic, awareness for him? Just
Well, we can also use the I'm sorry. We can also use there's also a sexual abuse, which is forcing you to participate in non-consensual acts. And that's females and males. Okay. A woman can also be coercive to the man. There's physical abuse, as you said, also isolation. She might prevent him from wanting to hang out with the fellas or things of that nature because she's jealous. So that's another sign. The emotional, targeting your insecurities or vulnerabilities. Say, for instance, that she is the head of household. She's the money maker. That can be demasculating for a man. And if she targets him, and if she, constantly says, I bring the money in, I'm making the money, you have to do what I say, that's also emotional abuse. That's very hard for a man because a man is pride, bringing that paycheck. He's supposed to be the provider, but say she's the provider and that has not been worked out. That can also be a form of abuse if it's emotional abuse. If she says, well, I'm the one, I make the choices here, I'm making the money and bringing it into the house. Also, male privilege, adhering to cultural beliefs that men must be dominant over women. Um, those are certain things. And as we mentioned, the economic, your partner has complete control over your spending, your income, or squanders money. So those are some of the things that men have to go through as well, or they're staying at home keeping the children,
wow,
being
okay.
domesticated. So that can make you
So
feel bad.
right, okay. So we've talked about the ladies and the men. Let's talk about even elderly. Some
Yes.
elderly abuse. Talk about that for a minute.
Yes. Elderly abuse can happen, as I mentioned before. Say, for instance, a parent is left by herself, and she has to live with a child and she's not treated properly. First of all, maybe they might take her social security check and spend it and not make sure that she has the things that she needs. Also, talking to her in a demeaning way. That is also emotional abuse. Um, just living with the kids and making her babysit a lot and doing those things, not giving her the freedoms that she used to enjoy. So, those are the things that an elderly person can go through. And talking to her in any way, shape, or form, disrespectfully, that is also a form of elder abuse.
Right. And then, not to mention, again, we talk about physical abuse as well.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
okay. So we talked about those. Let's talk about even with kids. What are some of the things that kids may go through?
Well, kids go through definitely the physical part. They also go through the emotional part. You'll never amount to anything. You're good for nothing. Just talking down to them. The emotional part is very hard because that sticks. It's like that crazy glue. It sticks right here and can be very damaging later on in life. Sometimes it'll manifest itself if mistakes are made. They remember, hey, I was told I'd never amount to anything. I'm good for nothing and things of that nature. And the physical abuse that they go through. And that's so hard for children. And there's also, molestation that comes in there. So, and children can be molested also, not only by a man, but by a woman. So, those are all abusive forms of people think domestic violence is just physical, but it's not. There's also sexual abuse and the emotional abuse. And there's the verbal abuse, as we said, and it's just the control, isolation. It's the same with the children. It's the same with the children. And since they couldn't go to school and escape it, think about those children who are stuck in some of the situations as we went through with COVID being locked down. Very hard for them because who are they going to tell? Where can they go? There's no escape.
Right. Wow. That is so good. It's good to know. And, just to, for people may not even know. I mean, that's what's so crazy that you think that, for especially those who watch Lifetime TV,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't even know that, they're being abused or their family members are being abused. I had a lady who was on one of my shows one time, and she was saying that she went to her pastor and she told her pastor that the man was abusing her, not only physically, but emotionally and very controlling. And the pastor told her that she needed to stay, that he made a lot of money and he took care of that family and she needed to stay. So she tells people, quick, if your pastor tells you that,
Wow.
do not listen to him and find you another church, because,
Exactly.
yeah, and that's the thing that I think that we need to share with people that, it's okay to let people know what you're going through. Tell someone. And if that person doesn't hear you, then tell someone else. And, it's okay.
But you know what, Dr. Harriet, as well, there are powerful psychological impacts from domestic abuse. And, you can have anxiety, agitation, a constant state of alertness that makes it difficult for you to relax or go to sleep at night. You also have a sense of hopelessness and helplessness, which can, cause despair. Suicide ideations can come into play. You have a fear that, you cannot be protected. Um, it's so many. You're feeling paralyzed by fear. That fear constantly, you're looking over your shoulder. Um, and then you start to realize, or you might start to think that you deserve that abuse. You're feeling a sense of guilt. You believe that one deserves the abuse. You believe that, that you're responsible for it. And then you have the flashbacks, the recurring thoughts and memories, the PTSD, the nightmares of the violence. There are serious behaviors that can come, personality disorders. You might start drinking or using abuse, substance use, low self esteem, anger management, insecurity, childhood trauma. It's just so much. Even think about a child who witnesses domestic violence, who's grown up like that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
learned behavior. So later in life, they can think that's a norm and it manifests itself in their relationships. So there's a lot of
Right.
fallout.
Right. I know Mary J. Blige, the singer, R&B singer, for those who may not know her, but she talks about that even in her memoirs that that's all she saw in
Hmm.
her environment and where she grew up in the projects. She said that her mom was beat up, the auntie was beat up, the grandma was beat, everybody. So she thought that was normal when she got into a relationship, that it was okay because this is what she saw. But it's not okay.
Hmm.
If anyone who's watching today and you have seen that behavior, it is not okay. This is not the way life is supposed to be. And so let's talk about for a minute, Lynn, what are some of the solutions? Let's talk about starting with women. We're going to go through each group again like we did before, but let's start off with women. If a woman is watching today and she says, that's what I'm going through. What is the next step for her? What should she do?
Okay. First thing she should try to do is to create a safety plan. Plan something that you can get out of your current situation. Planning to leave, or after you leave, what is your plan? You have to have a plan. There are also shelters that, no matter where you are in the world, there are safety shelters that are set up. I know here in Florida we have the Harbor House, which is a place for women to go and their children who are in an abusive situation and fear for their lives. So that is one of the other options. I know during COVID, I read somewhere, I think it was not here, but in Europe, where the women were on lockdown, but they went to the pharmacy to get a prescription and handed the pharmacist a note. I'm being physically abused. Please help me. That's another option. You know, maybe you can go to the drugstore, hand it to the pharmacist or the grocery store. Please help. I'm being abused. Things of that nature. If it's imminent danger, please get out of that situation. There are also some phone numbers. You may also receive anonymous. Someone can call in and say, "Hey, this person is being, there's a national domestic violence hotline." And that number, Dr. Harriet, is 800-799-7233. And it is very, very important for a person to call that number because they know exactly how to instruct you and what to do, not to cause or put you in any more harm's way.
Give us that number
There,
again. Give us that number again.
it is 1-800-799-7233.
Okay, good, good.
And there is
I love that
also,
they, a lot of those places do have, they make an escape plan for you because,
yes,
it may not be safe for you just to walk out the front door. Most
right,
users are not going to allow that.
no,
So they will make a plan for you and your children to get out and, and then help you. A lot of people think about, well, what am I going to do once I leave? That's the breadwinner. I don't have money on my own. So they stay in those situations because they think that they cannot do any better. So these organizations will help you you're not going to be in the cold with your child. So just remember that.
right. And you need a support system as well, Dr. Harriet. If you have a good friend you can talk to, maybe at work, you can talk to them and say, "Listen, I'm in a situation. I need your support, or I need you to coincide for me to help me. Okay, I am trying to devise a plan of escape from this situation."
That's good. Now,
And that's a
for the
support
same thing
person.
for a man,
Yeah,
what would a man do? Would he follow those same instructions? I mean,
yes. He
the
can
same
follow the
exact. Okay.
same instructions. Also, you can send a text. And on the text, you're going to write in all caps the word "start." And you text it to 88788. And that's going to start the process.
Say
That's
that
going to
again.
start
Tell
it.
us again that information.
Text by sending "start," the word "start," to 88788. And
Okay.
one other number, Dr. Harriet, additional resources can be found by calling the National Center for Victims of Crime. And that number I'm going to give you is 855-484-2846. And
That is
if it's an emergency, we all know to dial 911.
1-1. That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid. I know it's just really scary, but you have to stand up for you and to protect your child. I mean, look how many cases that we see on TV all the time. I mean, it's not like it's just a few here, a few there. I mean, you always hear about, different situations of murder, suicide, and, well, if I can't have you, no one's going to have you, that type thing. So definitely get out. You have to be brave and to protect your children because I've seen just recently, not too long ago, where the boyfriend killed the girlfriend and all 5 kids. I mean, just crazy. And those were his kids. I just don't understand that. But you just never know in that situation. So just it's better to be safe than sorry in that position. The same thing for the elderly. They can
Yes.
call those same numbers as well
Yes.
if they think they're
Yeah.
watching today and they're like, you know what? I think I'm being abused.
It's,
Call that number
it's
too.
it's a real serious situation and people don't take it seriously. And sometimes, like I said, the abuser will make you feel guilty. I am starting a series. I am one of the facilitators at the Bible Institute at Majestic Life Ministries Church here in Orlando. And on the fourth Thursday of every month, I teach the Mind series, and we're talking about different disorders and how they can be compared to the Bible and what the Bible says about it. So I've started a series on domestic violence, and the next session will be the fourth Thursday of January, where we'll be talking about domestic violence. It's a safe environment. And there are other people on there that are sharing their experiences and how they escaped those experiences and how the Word of God really gave them some substance and help them when they were going through the turmoil. So I would encourage anybody out there, it is a Zoom session, and it's the fourth Thursday in January. And you can call Majestic Life or go online to our church app and find it out. And I'll be more than happy to talk with you and educate you more on this subject.
Okay, that sounds good. Now I know that well, our time is ticking. Wow, it's going by so fast. But I know the holidays are coming up, and the holidays is usually a very hard time for people. A lot of people dealing with grief, dealing with just financial issues, and just trying to stay sane during the mental sanity or mental health during the holidays is always so tough. Will you look in our camera today? And just talk to like you're in your living room and you're talking to these people around the world, and just look into your camera and talk to them for a second about just how important it is to stay safe even in where it comes to your mental health during this time.
Well, for this year, more so than any other year, my heart goes out to so many because of COVID, and there has been such a great loss this year. It Grief is just experienced in so many different ways, and everyone experiences it differently. So this year, just take a moment for you. Take a moment for self-care. Take a moment to relish and just take care of yourself this year. Have a support system, someone you can call to help you through these times. This can be the worst time of year for some people that cannot handle the grief. So I encourage you, reach out to a mental health counselor. It's okay. Reach out to your loved ones. It's okay. Reach out to your friends as a support system this year. It's okay. Do something different this year. Don't isolate yourself. Be amongst people. Go to church. Do something different. I encourage you to do that this year.
That is so good. Wow. Well, Lynn, this has been a wonderful session. Will you come back again? I would love to have you and to talk about so many different things. You're just a wealth of knowledge and encouragement. You will be on our ladies chit chat in December, and I'm looking forward to that. And so make sure to check out all of our sites, and make sure to follow Lynn on her social media. You can check out her website that is actually scrolling across now. And before we go, I just want to just really quick, can we go back through those numbers again? We have
Sure.
about a minute and a half left. Can we just go back through those numbers for domestic
Sure, we'll go
violence?
back through those. The In the United States, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It is 800 799 7233, or you can send a text, START in all caps, and you text it to 88788. Also, the National Center for Victims of Crime, 855-484-2846, or if you're in imminent danger, 911.
That is so good. And we're just encouraging everyone to, if you're dealing with this, if you know someone else who's dealing with it, a lot, just it's okay to tell. Don't keep it a secret. All that, whatever happens in our house stays in the house, goes out the door, out the door. You need to definitely tell someone, talk to someone, even if it's at work or it's at church. Even if you do go to your pastor, most pastors are not going to tell you to stay. But,
No.
no matter who it is, if they're telling you to stay, then don't do. Most pastors will help and have resources to help tell you where you can get more help. So, definitely not telling you not to go to your pastor. That just particularly happened to that person. But the point of it is don't stop. Tell someone else. If that person, whoever it is, no matter how high they are up on the totem pole, if they don't listen, go to the next person. So thank you again so much, Lynne
Thank
Kelly.
you.
And if someone wants to reach out to you, they may need to get some counseling, then definitely all your information is on there. You can always contact me and I can give you her information as well. So thank you again so much and looking forward to the next time. And again, remember, today only happens once. So make it amazing. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with
Thank
Dr.
you.
Harriet right here on the Power Network. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.